Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel She Sews Happiness. I'm Mary Ellen and yeah, I've been gone for a little while, so it's my first episode of Sunday Sews for 4 or 5 weeks and I do have a few projects to share with you. So as I explained in my video a couple of days ago, I hadn't been sewing a lot for a while. Firstly, I was ill. Secondly, I took a new job and time and energy just did not exist to do anything, let alone sew or vlog or generally be a social, productive person. My work life was literally all I could cope with for a few weeks, and sleep was really the only main thing on my agenda. But looking back, there are a few things that I worked on. I have a project coming out for the Jenny Stitches blog in about 2 weeks, maybe less than 2 weeks, and I'm really excited to share that with you. That's a make that I really love and have worn now a few times. I also will have another pattern test project to show you. For those of you who are really discerning, you'll see something sitting there in the background. That was the last pattern test that I did for Jennifer Lauren Handmade's recent creations. So one of the things I'm going to share with you today is another Jennifer Lauren Handmade. She has now released it so I can share it with you. And I think I may have chatted about starting that pattern test in one of my last Sunday sews before I disappeared. So the dress I want to share with you today is the Isla dress by Jennifer Lauren. And as I've probably explained before, pattern testing is not something I'm super enthused about. I find that the time restraints are always something that puts me off. You know, it's your time, it's your energy, it's your fabric. You're putting a lot of things into a pattern test. So I do only tend to do it when I fall in love with something. So when Jennifer Lauren had sent out the call for testers, I couldn't even resist this one. And even though I hadn't seen a finished product, she just described it in such a way that I knew it was something I had to make. So basically the Isla dress, and I'll just pop the line drawing in here for you so you can see it. The Isla dress is, in Jennifer's own words, a kind of mixture between a 50s house dress and a casual modern wrap dress. And what I actually loved about it is that it's a back wrap dress. So, you know, it's quite easy to fit. You don't have to worry about the bust area or gaping or anything like that. Now, there's always a chance of gaping on any wrap over, but it's much easier to fix, I think, on the back than it is on the front. So that was one of the great bonuses for me. It also has grown on sleeves. Again, really reduces any fitting issues you might have if, like me, that's a problem area. And for me, that is my main problem area when it comes to fitting. It has a lovely gentle rounded neckline, and I do like a rounded neckline. I think plunge necklines are probably the most flattering on me, but not one that I can wear every day, given that I have to go to work and you don't really want to create more attention than you have to sometimes. And it has then the waistline darts, which gives it a bit of bodice shaping, and then this beautiful gentle gathered skirt, and of course it has pockets as well. And to be honest, if a dress pattern came without pockets, I would probably be putting them in there. And I know not everyone loves pockets, but team pockets for me. So I think Isla was just something that to me sounded really reminiscent of the Marguerite dress, which is a sew over pattern that I have made so many times. It just had a few distinctive features, such as that back wrap and button across the back, which made it really attractive to me to try out. So I think Marguerite's wardrobe in the 100-foot journey is one of my favorites. And I am really drawn to vintage styles and vintage fashion, but for me they do have to be quite contemporary as well. And so for a long time, I mean, I think Gertie's patterns were my go-to, and I loved her silhouettes and I loved the styles. But in recent days, personally, I just find they've become a bit too costumey. And you can see obviously her own loves and influences coming in, and there's like Elvis inspired outfits and stuff like that. They don't really work for me at all. And I have found that Jennifer Lauren Handmade's pattern range has become my go-to for gorgeous contemporaneous vintage inspired looks. And this one was absolutely no exception. So I decided to make the Isla in a cotton lawn. So the pattern actually asks for mid-weight fabrics with a little gentle structure. And I know cotton lawn's probably more lightweight, but with the summer months coming in, I thought, why not? I like to have some cotton lawn in my wardrobe for those really warm days. And I think with the checked fabric, I've ended up with something that looks just like a little bit of a picnic dress. And I'm so there for it. Really, really, really love it. Now the real bonus for me in the Jennifer Lauren patterns is the size range. So I have now moved across to Jennifer Lauren's curve block to get a much better fit. And sometimes I find when a pattern designer creates two different kinds of size blocks, I have varying experience as to which one fits me better. So I kind of fall down the middle where I could work in either of those. And for example, by Hand London, their curved block doesn't work for me at all. I have to stick to the originals and just do full bust adjustments and things like that. Even Megan Nielsen, the curve range doesn't work for me. Tully and the Buttons actually has worked quite well, and even though I've only used it once, I did notice that it was fitted quite well for curvier bodies. But the curve block Jennifer Lauren Handmade has, I think, is just perfect, because it's not just what I think with some ranges is that they just keep grading them out, whereas this one seems more specifically created for curvy bodies and uses the curvy body as a starting point. And I'm sure they all do, but when you're actually making them as a curvy sewist, it doesn't feel that way. But Jennifer has created an amazing size block. And what she's actually done is she's built in a lot more bust ease, a lot more waist ease, and even in the hip area as well, rather than everywhere, because that's what I feel other pattern designers have done, because I find if I use their curve range, everywhere is baggy, even if I go by my precise measurements. But with Jennifer, she seems to really just have focused on those key areas where you have your curves, and that seems to have made a lot of the difference. So I'll slot a couple of pictures in so you can see the Isla dress. I can see myself making quite a few of these. And one of the big differences I did notice when I was using the curve range is that the bust area worked amazingly for me. I did not have to do a full bust adjustment. In fact, I didn't make any adjustment to the bust area at all. The original size chart caters for cups A to D, whereas the curve range is graded in 3 cup sizes, which is D to F. And the F worked perfectly for me, even though my measurements would have suggested I was a G. So that's what I mean. There seems to be a little bit more ease built into those key areas. The only thing that I had to really adjust about the pattern was the height and the length of the pieces, because the blocks, both of them, whether that's the original or the curve, are both graded for someone who is 5'6" and above. And yeah, I'm 5'1", so I did have to take a bit of a length off. I took about 1.5 inches off the bodice, but at the back I think I could do a sway back and bring that up a little bit more, and on the skirt I took off a couple of inches, but I didn't want to take off too much, because that's the thing I love about the vintage inspired patterns, is that they have that little bit of length, and to me it just feels a wee bit more authentic. So yeah. Did I make any other adjustments? Oh, I might have actually. I think the only other thing I had to do was change the position of the waist darts. So for me, the waist darts sat too far out, and I had to just bring them into the center, maybe about, I think it was actually about 1.25 inches, just so that they hit my bust apex, the same way you would do with any bust dart as well. It just looks much neater if those darts are lining up with your apex. But yeah, the shaping of the dress I think was great, because it did mean that fitting was pretty minimal. And yeah, I think it's really nice when you get a designer who has gone the extra mile in creating patterns that are as inclusive and as accessible as they can make them. And I think Isla is one of those patterns as well that, even though it's geared towards an intermediate sewist, I'd say a confident beginner could take this on no issues at all. Again, because there's not too much fitting, because so much work's been done on grading the patterns. But yeah, I think anyone would feel confident enough giving it a go. So yeah, that was the Jennifer Lauren Handmade Isla dress, and there will be a few more of those in the future. And the one that is sneakily sitting here behind me is called the Kinfolk dress. And again, it's beautiful. It's really contemporaneous, but yet it has that elegance of vintage style as well. And I find it pretty easy to fit too. So I'll come back and share my experience of that one with you a little later on. So what else have I been up to? I think everything else is pretty simple. I've made, and I'm wearing one of them here actually. Last month I did make a couple more Moneta dresses. So if you come to my channel frequently, you'll know that this is one of the patterns I do visit a lot. So it's just a simple round neck, slightly scooped at the back, fit and flare, gathered skirt with pockets. And unfortunately, and I hate bringing it up, but yeah, I made two of these, and it's Colette Patterns, the Moneta dress, which is no longer available to purchase, unfortunately. So I do always feel really guilty when I can tell people I've made what is essentially a wardrobe staple, but that they can't get that pattern anymore. However, it is just a basic fit and flare jersey dress. There are other patterns out there. So these were actually made with fabrics gifted to me by Minerva. So I just wanted a couple of dark dresses in my wardrobe just for work, for sitting in the office and doing meetings and things like that, because I do find that as much as I love my more fitted formal clothing, it doesn't really suit sitting around in an office all day in meetings or traveling from one location to the other. So I thought I'd bolster the old work wardrobe and stick a couple more jersey dresses in there. So I made this lovely black and white star print version, and I made a black and white polka dot version as well, which I can pop a picture in because obviously I'm not wearing it at the moment. But these have got a lot of wear over the last couple of weeks, so it was definitely worthwhile doing. And what else have I been up to? And this will probably be quite a brief video. The other thing that I made, this is what I was making on my long weekend over the Jubilee. And actually I made it in a couple of hours. It didn't take all that long. But it was a Makebox project. And it was this gorgeous little Jubilee celebration bunny. This was a project box I bought several months ago when it was first released, and it has been sitting there until I've got the time to do it. But this was my first foray into toy making, and I have to say it was super enjoyable, really relaxing. Basically you just make up the body of the little bunny, make up the clothes, just stitch on the little details on the face, and then you make this gorgeous, adorable little glitter crown to put on the top of it. I really do love Makebox project boxes. They just kind of give you everything you need for an afternoon of crafting. And I think I did that on Thursday when I was off work, which is really nice. And I haven't done any sewing thereafter. So as I say, my pace has slowed down. I am not stressing out about it. It used to be I got annoyed if I didn't make 20 minutes for myself to sew, because I really equated my self-care with sewing over the last couple of years. And that was a much easier thing to do when I had a lot more time on my hands. So, you know, I was one of those lockdown sewers who discovered while working at home there was all this time that was being saved by commuting and lunch times and things like that. And I did have a certain level of productivity that, let's be realistic, was never going to equate into real life, so to speak. So I've come to terms with that for a beginning, because I've lost that hour and a half in the mornings and evenings with travel and things that I didn't have before. I don't have my lunch breaks to sew anymore, although it has been suggested that I move a sewing machine into the office. It's not the worst situation I can imagine, but I think the noise of it might alert people to my own brand of odd. But yeah, it's something to think about actually. But in terms just of my sustainability as well, I do have quite a lot of clothes. You know, I don't get up in the morning and go, I have nothing to wear. I get up in the morning and go, I have so much to wear, I have no idea what to wear today. And so my usual approach is to grab the first thing that's on the rail, which is why sometimes I can end up turning into work dressed in tulle and everyone's asking me if I'm going to the opera. And maybe I should be. Not that there's very much on at the moment in Northern Ireland, or theatre is not exceptional. But there are sometimes things worth going to. But yeah, I have slowed down. I'm not making as much. I don't need to make as much. And what I'm making because I know I'll get a lot of wear out of it. I need to turn attention to making for other people perhaps, and then I'll still get my fix without the guilt of literally coming down with clothes. And I have to admit, I don't have wardrobes per se. I have rooms which have clothes in them. And that's not very sustainable, is it? I would say I have about 600 dresses. Although I did clear out some ready to wear clothes last year, so maybe we'll bring that down to about 5. So I need to really reassess what's in my wardrobe, rehome some things that are in my wardrobe, or reappropriate the fabrics that I've used to create some of the things in my wardrobe if I'm finding they're not being used. I also have a lot of the things that I made a year ago or more, which don't fit the best because I didn't know an awful lot about fitting, and some of those could possibly be deconstructed and recreated. That's always something I could focus my time on as well. But for today, I'm going to go out and do some messages. It's the last day off before I go back to work tomorrow. I do have a few things that I'm planning to make, and I do have another fabric, and I know that it's June and I know that it's summer, but I have some of this gorgeous glitter knit fabric from Minerva, which I'm planning to make myself a Friday Pattern Company Adrienne blouse, but as a dress, because that's just, I don't really wear tops. Even when I make them and I love them, I'm not wearing them. So I like to stick a skirt on things, and that way it makes them much more wearable in my wardrobe. And I also want to make the Lucida dress, and I have another fabric, let me see, much lighter than the other, and this is from Jenny Stitches in this kind of like gold metallic. So yeah, I want to try that one as well, and that would do for an evening in the warmer months because it's actually very light and almost transparent actually, so it probably will need a slip or something underneath. But yeah, today it has been brief. Maybe isn't as informative as my vlogs usually are, but I just wanted to get myself back in the way of coming on, creating them, chatting with you guys, and hopefully I'll have a lot more to share with you in the incoming weeks. So enjoy what's left of your weekend. Thank you so much for stopping by, and if you're a subscriber, I appreciate you bearing with me while I got back into the flow of things. If you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll be back with you next week, letting you know what I've been up to. So now I'm going to go off, do the little things I have to do, and bid you adieu. Enjoy your evening. See you soon. Bye bye.